Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all for joining. Uh, I had some problem with my keyboard, so I was trying to fix that. Okay, we'll read Srimad Bhagavatam. Share my screen. Yeah, I'm sharing my screen. 4:28:38. So Malaya Dvaj observed austerities and he became equipoised in happiness and distress. He became tolerant of all the dualities of this material world. He became what we call a sthita pragya, equipoised in happiness and distress. And then he conquered all relativities. In this world, everything is relative. So, one man's food is another man's poison. We say my disadvantage may be somebody else's advantage. And jiva jivasya jivanam. So, so all the relativities, we can experience happiness because there is distress. There is distress also. If there is happiness, there is distress. There is hunger, and then there is satisfaction of the belly. So, like that. There is pleasant and unpleasant. So, like that. He became equipoised. Nothing is pleasant actually, everything is unpleasant. Dvaite Badra Badra Gyan. Everything is unpleasant in this material world. But our mind kind of makes a conclusion that this is pleasant, this is not. Everything is unpleasant if it is not favorable for Krishna consciousness. If it makes us forget Krishna, then actually everything is unpleasant. But we have made this, and based on the culture of the world around us and how other people appreciate, we think this is good, this is bad. Our value system is also dependent on how people around us think. Okay. And because we want name and fame also, right? So we want to be accepted in this material world. So we know that people who are very rich, they are accepted. So we try to become rich because that's how the world is, you know. If you are rich, then you are respected. If you are educated, you are beautiful, you have name and fame, like that. So everything in this world is relative. And he conquered all these relativities and he fixed. So then, the next verse. 4:28:38, that is where we have to begin. Tapasa vidyaya pakva kashayo niyamair yamai yuje brahmani atmanam vijitakshana nilashaya. By worshipping, executing austerities, and following the regulative principles, King Malayadhvaj conquered his senses, his life, and his consciousness. So he conquered his mind. You cannot conquer the senses unless you conquer the mind. So he became the master, he became like Goswami. His life and his consciousness. Thus he fixed everything on the central point of Supreme Brahman, Krishna. Whenever the word Brahman appears, the impersonalists take this to mean the impersonal effulgence, the Brahma Jyoti. Actually, our Parabrahman, the Supreme Brahman, is Krishna, Vasudeva. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7:19, Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Vasudeva extends everywhere as the impersonal Brahman. So through his energy, Maya Tatamidam Sarvam,
Jagadavritamurtina.
Jagadavyakta Murtina. Krishna is pervading everywhere through his energies. One cannot fix one's mind upon an impersonal something. Bhagavad Gita 12:5 therefore says, Kleshodhikataras tesham avyakta sakta chetasam. For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the supreme advancement is very troublesome. Because in this world, you know, relationships are very troublesome in this world. Many times they are troublesome and it is not perfect. So we are afraid of relationships, and sometimes we think that there is attachment, right? When in relationships there is attachment on the bodily platform. So spiritual life means there should be no attachment. So we tend to negate a personality. So we want to make everything void. But in spiritual life, there is attachment, but to the Supreme Personality of God and His service, like that. So people try to make that absolute truth is impersonal, and but if absolute truth is complete in everything, then it must have a personality also. Otherwise, it is incomplete. Consequently, when it is said here in that King Malayadhvaj fixed his mind on Brahman, Brahman means the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudev. Okay, so he says, Yuyujai Brahmanya Atmanam. So he fixed his mind as Brahman, so that Prabhupada has given it as Vasudev. Okay. He was not an impersonalist. In this way, he stayed immovable in one place for 100 years by the calculations of the demigods. Very difficult to just be in one place for 100 years. After this time, even for 2 hours, we have to sit and do japa is very difficult, right? So 100 years. But this is a different age, maybe, and it's an allegorical story also. But Valmiki Muni and they were meditating, sitting in one place, meditating for 60,000 years, something like that. And an ant hill grew. Hiranyakashipu was also meditating like that. He also had an ant hill around himself. So, so when we are steady, like you can sit in a movie for 3 hours, right? Like we used to watch movies before, and we would sit in the movie, especially if it was interesting. We could sit for 3 hours. Of course, there's interval in between, maybe 10, 15 minutes, but practi- practically, pretty much you are sitting for like 3 hours. So when there is interest and you're absorbed, Samik Rishi also, he was completely absorbed and he did not know the externals, what was going around. Even though he was garlanded with a snake, he didn't know. So those who are one pointed in, they become like very absorbed and they like it also. So then nothing else can disturb their consciousness. Haridas Thakur, right, he was chanting Japa, and Maya Devi came, the prostitute came, but he was very fixed in his Japa. That, of course, he had some little conversation with the prostitute, but all the time he was chanting Japa and he was fixed in his Japa. So, so these are great personalities. We are not like them, but they are great personalities. They can remain fixed in Krishna, thought of Krishna for hours together, for maybe probably days together. After this time, he developed pure devotional attraction for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and remained fixed in that position. Okay. Purport. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So, of course, whatever we are doing, like Prabhupada says in the 12th chapter, sometimes the devotee goes out to buy some bhoga, sometimes he is cleaning the pots, cleaning the dishes in the temple, sometimes he is chanting the holy name, sometimes he is cooking. But that is all also meditation. Although he is moving, but it's all done as service to Krishna. Directly he is doing service to Krishna. Such a great soul is very rare. Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna is everything, and one who knows this is the greatest of all transcendentalists. So if we know Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then we are the greatest of all transcendentalists. Prabhupada is saying like that. And then we will surrender to Krishna. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that one realizes this after many, many births. This is also confirmed in the verse with the words Divyam Varsha Shatam, 100 years according to the calculation of the demigods. According to the calculation of the demigods, one day is equal to 6 months on earth. So from their point of view, our lifespan is very short. Their one day is equal to 6 months on Earth, 12 hours. So their one whole day, 24 hours, is equal to one year on Earth. So we live for 100 years. So we live for 100 days of the demigods. 100 days means about 3 months of the demigods is our lifespan on Earth. 100 years of the demigods would equal 36,000 Earth years. Thus, King Malayadhvaj executed austerities and penances for 36,000 years. After this time, he became fixed in devotional service of the Lord. So we don't live that long, but we can achieve the same result because this is different age. So he lived for 30, he was executing austerities for 36,000 years, but we can achieve the same in this short span of life by Harinam, Kalau Tad Hari Kirtanat. What is the verse? Kritayad, Kritayadya Vishnu.
त्रेताय में मुखे द्वापरे परिचर्याय
Kalau
कलौ
Tad.
हरि कीर्तनम.
So what was achieved, it says in Satyuga, by meditating on Vishnu for thousands of years can be achieved in this age simply by chanting the holy name. But Lord Chaitanya says, Durdevam idrishamiha janinanuraga. Playing the part of a conditioned soul, he says, I'm so unfortunate, I have no taste for this chanting. Although there are so many benedictions of chanting, I have no taste. I have no attachment to this chanting. I have attachment for so many other things. And because we don't have taste, then we like whatever we don't like, right? In my school also, whichever subject I didn't like, I didn't study that. I didn't like this civics, history, geography, history, civics, geography. We had called social studies. So I like math, like physics. So that I would study first. Then whatever was not, that would be left till the very end. Um, so similarly, when we don't like japa, we'll put it till the very end. Or when we don't feel the importance, then we put it till the very end of our day, and then we somehow try to finish. But if it's very important, then we should do it the first thing. So where what we do, um, where we invest our time is where our priorities lie. So that is where time everybody has, but the priorities, what is the priority? That's the most important. So priority should be chanting of the holy name. So because this is the Yuga Dharma. So it has been made very simple, but we have so much disturbed mind and so many material desires that when we chant, we can't chant properly. And so we have to somehow make up our mind and become determined to chant. So after this time, he became fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. So he, 36,000, he did austerities. To live on earth for so many years, one has to take birth many times. So 36,000 years means if we live 100 years, we have to take 360 lifetimes to live for 36,000 years. This confirms the conclusion of Krishna. To come to the conclusion of Krishna consciousness and remain fixed in the realization that Krishna is everything, as well as render service unto Krishna, are characteristics of the perfectional stage. So there are devotees who are very fixed. They do the same thing every day, like 40 years, morning program, this like Dravida Prabhu. Of course, 40 years is also not much, but there are devotees that are fixed in devotional service. They do the same thing every day. Um, the Prabhupada says to remain fixed in Krishna's service is not so easy. To come to the conclusion of Krishna, first you have to come to the and remain fixed in the realization that Krishna is everything, means to be engaged in his service regularly, constantly, day after day, year after year. It's very difficult. As well as render service unto Krishna are characteristics of the perfectionist. So we should stay in the association of those who are fixed in devotional service. That's why, like, those who stay in the temple, they have a fixed program, like morning every day. Like, so many brahmacharis have been living for so many years, and the same program every day: Bhagavatam class, Tulsi puja, and then slowly you get taste also in this, and doing service, preaching. As said in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya, Krishna Bhakti Koile Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. This is the definition of Shraddha, that I don't need to do anything else. I just need to do Krishna Bhakti. Then everything else is achieved. When one comes to the conclusion that Krishna is everything by worshipping or by rendering devotional service unto Krishna, one actually becomes perfect in order. And then how will my things be provided? Krishna says, if you are fixed in my service, Ananyas Chintayantu Mam, Ye Jana Parivipasate, Desham Nityapyuktanam Yogakshimam Vahamiyam. I will provide whatever you need. Don't worry. So, not only one must come to the conclusion that Krishna is everything, but he must remain fixed in this realization. So, after coming to the conclusion, we have to remain fixed. Means at all the time. That is difficult because there are modes of nature are there and so many things. So, this is the highest perfection of life, and it is the perfection that King Malayadhvaj attained at the end. Because in the spiritual world, they are constantly engaged, right? So, if you want to go back to the spiritual world, we have to be constantly engaged in Krishna's service here. Then we will naturally fit into that environment. So, constantly engaged in Krishna's service. Okay. So, anybody has anything on this? Comments on this? What Prabhupada said here? Okay, so next verse. King Malayadhvaj attained perfect knowledge by being able to distinguish the super soul from the individual soul. The individual soul is localized. Individual soul is localized, whereas the super soul is all pervasive. He became perfect in knowledge that the material body is not the soul, but that the soul is the witness of material body. So he came to the spiritual platform. Not only knowledge, and then he has realization. Perfect in knowledge means the realization that I'm not this body. I'm just the witness. I'm just experiencing this material body, but I'm not the body. So, Prabhupada says individual soul is localized. So we are in this body, but super soul has expanded everywhere. Andantarastha paramanuchayantarastham. So Krishna is expanded everywhere. Shirodakshay Vishnu into each and every atom, Parmanu and everywhere. So he is conscious of everything. The conditioned soul is often frustrated in trying to understand the distinctions between the material body, the super soul, and the individual soul. There are two types of Mayavadi philosophers, the followers of Buddhist philosophy and followers of Shankara philosophy. The followers of Buddha do not recognize there is anything beyond the body. The followers of Shankara conclude that there is no separate existence of the Paramatma, the super soul. The Shankarites believe that the individual soul is identical with the Paramatma in the ultimate analysis. So Buddhists believe that there is no soul after this body, there is nothing like that, next life or something. And Shankaras, they say that Paramatma and Atma are the same. But the Vaishnava philosopher who is perfect in knowledge knows that the body is made up of the external energy and that the super soul, the Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is sitting within the individual soul and is distinct from him. As Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 13.3, Kshetragyam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata kshetra kshetragnayor jnanam yattaj jnanam matam mama. O son of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower in all bodies, and to understand this body and its owner is called knowledge. That is my opinion. Matam mama. Matam means opinion. So, The body is taken to be the field and the individual soul is taken to be the worker in that field. Yet there is another who is known as the super soul, who along with the individual soul simply witnesses. So upadrashta and what is the other word? Upadrashta and what is the other word used for the super soul?
Anumanta.
Anumanta, the sanctioner. The individual soul works and enjoys the fruits of the body, whereas the super soul simply witnesses the activities of the individual soul but does not enjoy the fruits of those activities. The super soul is present in every field of activity, whereas the individual soul is present in his one localized body. King Malayadhvaj attained this perfection of knowledge. One is able to distinguish between the soul and the super soul, and the soul and the material body. Okay, so that's what. So next verse. Any comments on this verse? Yeah.
Sorry, bro. My phone was not working, but Anumanta was it. But
Yeah,
yeah.
Anumanta, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Just sometimes I ask so that. Okay. In this way, King Malayadhvaj attained perfect knowledge because in his pure state he was directly instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he got instructions from the Paramatma in the heart directly. By means of such enlightening transcendental knowledge, he could understand that everything from all angles of vision. So when we are constantly engaged in devotional service, then Paramatma in the heart guides us. But we have to check because sometimes it may be our mind telling us and our so we have to check, we have to verify also Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. So whether what we are thinking is the right thinking or not. So but we get Chaitya Guru will give the how to come closer to him. He will give all the intelligence. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. Krishna will give all the intelligence in the heart. And with intelligence, one can do the right things, become renowned. So many things with intelligence, from those things that are actually detrimental for spiritual advancement. So if intelligence is strong, so in this verse, the words Sakshat Bhagavato Tena Guruna Harina are very significant. The Supreme Personality of Godhead speaks directly to the individual soul when the devotee has completely purified himself by rendering devotional service to the Lord. So Krishna will speak to us inside. So he will give determination and inspiration from the heart. So Lord Krishna confirms all this also in Bhagavad Gita 10:10. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupiyanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Like Advaita Acharya in the Mahaprakash Leela, Lord Chaitanya said, you didn't know you were fasting because you couldn't explain some verse in devotion to the Lord. Then it was I who gave you the understanding. So we should pray to the Lord to give us good intelligence, and we should be engaged in his service. Krishna, give me good intelligence. I don't want to come back in this material existence. And all these material desires means they are not, this is all bad intelligence. So Krishna, please give me good intelligence so that I can become, pure in heart and give up all my material desires, and I can go back. I can realize more and more that this is not my home. This is just a passing phase and all these things. All realization. Krishna, give me realization. Please give me realization, Krishna. So, Krishna will give realization. Actually, when we chant the holy name, we can pray, and because the holy name is Chintamani, whatever you pray to Krishna, very sincerely from the heart, when and you are chanting, then the holy name, it is said, will fulfill all your aspirations. So, and especially if we want to become closer to Krishna, if we want to purify our heart, and if we chant in that consciousness, then Krishna will help. We just have to accept Prabhupada's guidance given in his books like that, and chant the holy name and hear about Krishna. So it is very simple, Krishna consciousness, if we take the instructions of Srila Prabhupada to our heart. And you know, Prabhupada wants us to make us convinced that there is no good in this material existence. You are trying to enjoy in so many ways, but it is not going to work. So he's trying to, through his purports, he's trying to convince us, and so that we can become fixed up in devotional service. So, to those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Like one time, Mother Kamagiri was saying that what do we have to look forward to as time moves on? What will old age, disease, and death, and some little material enjoyment may be there before before you become old, and but yeah, so that's what it is ultimately. As you move in time, add 10 years, 20 years like that to your life, 30 years, then where will we be, how our body will be, what we will be, our situation. So, thinking of the future, what's coming up, we should prepare for it. So, ideally, we should prepare for living this world. They say art of dying, right? So, we, what I say, we learn to live, LEAV, and something like that is something they say. So the Lord is the super soul seated in everyone's heart, and he acts as the Chaitya Guru, the spiritual master within. However, he gives direct instructions only to the advanced pure devotees. In the beginning, when a devotee is serious and sincere, the Lord gives him directions from within to approach bona fide spiritual master. When one is trained by the spiritual master according to the regulative principles of devotional service and is situated on the platform of spontaneous attachment for the Lord, Raga Bhakti, the Lord also gives instructions from within. Raga Bhakti means spontaneous attachment. Means also all this avyartha kalatvam, virakti, detachment from sense gratification, mana shunyata. These are all the bhava stage. This is like penultimate stage of prema. So shanti avyartha kalatvam, virakti mana shunyata, asha bandha samutkanta,
नाम गणे
sadaruchi,
प्रीतिस्थ गुणाख्यानि
asaktistat gunakhyane, pritistad vasati.
प्रीतिर्वसति स्थले इति आदि अनुभवस्य जटभावं कुरुते.
Yadev Anubhavasya. Yeah, so this is the so that is a very high platform where you are not desiring respect, manashunyata, and virakti, detachment from all sense gratification, and like that. So the Lord also gives instructions from within.
So here is writing that uh, he gives direct instructions only to advanced pure devotees.
Correct. That's what Prabhupada says. When one
Yeah,
is
but I
trained,
think Super Soul gives instructions to everyone. It's just that advanced devotees can hear that, while the other people, they have so many other voices within them, like the voice of the mind, that they can, like, the Super Soul tells us that, no, you should not do this. This is wrong thing, but they don't hear it
yeah.
because Krishna
Whether
wants to
yeah,
guide
it's as good as
everybody.
not giving, right? If you're not hearing, then it's as good as you're deaf to the. Say
Yeah,
like
you're
that.
deaf, but Krishna is attempting from his side to
Uh,
purify everybody and to take him back home, back to Godhead, because everybody is his children. So why wouldn't he give instructions to everybody?
Sometimes maybe Krishna is feeling that, like you tell somebody, you do like this, you do like this, and that person is not listening, then he stops speaking. Maybe that way also. Because if you're ignoring, then Krishna says, okay, do whatever you want to do. Like Prabhupada had that child who was trying to put his, says, no, 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 don't do it, don't do it. But he was adamant, okay, do it. So then, of course, he got hurt. So maybe that way also. Or he's giving instructions and not here. The effect is the same. Either because the thing is that the conditioned soul is not hearing the instruction, basically.
Yeah, but let's say somebody does not hear the instructions, get into bad activities and gets into trouble. But then when he's sad and depressed, would Krishna give him instructions from within that, now you turn towards me?
Yeah, distress, we say, right? That, uh, yeah, but many people are in distress, right? But they don't turn to God. Like
Yeah, they need to have some sukruti.
drug addicts are there, so many drug addicts there. It ultimately consumes their life also.
Yeah,
So,
but they are not lost forever, and that's why we say Krishna is ever forgiving and ever waiting and ever willing.
yeah, ultimately,
Because
yeah, it's when that jiva will, somehow the devotee will meet them, and
and that devotee also comes by Krishna's direction. Like to Gopakumara, Krishna says that I sent
sent,
Guru in
yeah.
your life. I became your Guru. I came in your life. You were not qualified for it. I was
Yeah,
waiting for you to turn towards me for many, many lifetimes. You were not doing that. But I interrupted. So ultimately, it's Krishna's mercy, causeless mercy through which the jiva turns because he never gives up on us.
that is true. Krishna is always his Paramatma, he is always wanting to connect with. But how many lifetimes it will be, we cannot say, because let's say, like we have been here millions of lifetimes, right? We say Anadi, from time immemorial, we have been here. So
Yeah.
another how many lifetimes will
Yeah,
go?
he keeps trying on his end that we
He
may
keeps
turn one
trying,
time.
but how?
But it's us who delay the process,
Correct.
not turn. But
That
he
is
never gives up.
that is true. Otherwise, if the Lord gives up, then we are done. It will be forever
Yeah,
in this
yeah,
material existence.
In purport, Prabhu, he said that he gives a direct instruction only to the advanced and pure devotees.
Correct.
So those who are in consciousness of Krishna, and in his verse is also saying that Desam Sadatirthanam. So those constantly devoted and worship, he gives the understanding, right? That is a direct instruction. But for us, for like those who are not wanted to just, so there's an indirect instruction also, right? There's just sufferings, and then you come at the conclusion that why it is there, ask the question, and then you try to turn towards Lord. So I was thinking this, well, like there's a direct instruction, when those who are meditating, they can understand because their understanding is on the words of Guru Shastra and Sadhu, right?
Okay, so Krishna is trying to deliver us. That's the basically the whole. He's created this material world also in such a way that he's trying to deliver us. But how long it will take and how many lifetimes will be here, that's upon, because he also doesn't interfere with the free will of the jiva, as we say. He told Arjuna, everything you do now, you decide what you want to do. So he's trying to, but he can't force us. So because then there would be no love, right? We say like that, if there is no, if he, but he's trying to make conditions in such a way that we will turn to him. But ultimately, the jiva only has to decide. As Prabhupada says, most of us don't want to go back to God. But, somebody wants to go back, then Krishna will help in all respects. So, so desires change by association, right? When we come in association of devotees, we read scripture, then maybe some desires will change like that. So ultimately, devotees have to come uh, in our. That's why we go out and give them books. Now somebody will say, well, so many books are given, but there are not so many devotees. But somebody will read. We have heard that, if somebody will read the book somewhere, sometime, then maybe their life will change. So, so that is also there. So we, yeah. And then after coming to devotional service, also like how fast we want to go on this path, and it's all of how much we are ready to progress on this path, how much we are ready to surrender. Because after coming to devotional service, also surrender, we are told to surrender fully, but sometimes, when most of the time, it's a gradual process. As Brahma says, highest devotional service it in slow degrees. But how slow we want to make is also our. So Prabhupada says, don't, you can surrender in a moment and like that. Or you cannot surrender in a million lifetimes. So that also is there with the jiva, like that. So many things are there. Okay, so anything else you want to say? Anybody? Okay, so Krishna is very merciful. Yeah, he's trying to deliver us, send devotees in our life. Like acharyas like Prabhupada, they come and they want to take us out, but we have to be also be willing to be helped. The doctor is giving you the medicine, but you have to take the medicine, right? You have to first you have to have faith in the doctor that this medicine. Like when we go to doctor, we take the medicine, right? We don't know anything, but we have faith. He has given me the right medicine, right, and the right prescription, and so we put faith. So Eniche Aushadhi Maya Nashi Boro Lagi. Hari Nam Mahamantra. So chanting of the holy name is open to everybody. Everybody can take up to the chanting of the holy name. So right now, anybody can chant, right? Everybody can chant the holy name. So so like that also. Of course, some people have not heard about the chanting. So we have to go and tell them about this. This distinct advantage obtained by liberated soul. Having attained this stage, King Malayadhwaj was directly in touch with the Supreme Lord and receiving instructions from him directly. Okay, so King Malayadhwaj could thus observe that the super soul was sitting by his side, and that he, as the individual soul, was sitting by the side of the super soul. Since both were together, there was no need for separate interests, and thus he ceased from such activities. So he could perceive Paramatma in the heart. Okay. In the advanced stage of devotional service, the devotee does not see anything separate between his own interests and those of the Supreme Personality of God. So his interests are. So one definition of surrender means your desires are completely aligned with the desires of the Lord. So Krishna says, I am the enjoyer, and we say Krishna is the enjoyer. Krishna is the proprietor, and we say Krishna is the proprietor. And not only say, but we act also. So both interests become one, for the devotee does not act for a separate interest. Whatever he does in the interest of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. At that time, he sees everything in the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Supreme Personality of Godhead in everything. What is that verse? For one who sees me everywhere, I am not
यो
lost.
मां पश्यति सर्वत्र सर्वं च मयि पश्यति तस्याहं न प्रणश्यामि स च मे न प्रणश्यति.
And we say how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reminded everything, he reminded him of Krishna. When he went to Govardhan, or when he would see a mountain like that, he would remind him, he would see the cloud, it would remind him of Krishna. or peacock feather as seen by who? Mukunda, who reminded him of Krishna. So, like Prabhupada says, as you see the energy, you're reminded of the energetic. If the mother sees the toys of the child, then she feels the child, oh, this is my child's toys. So, like that. So, seeing the energy reminds one of energetic. Having attained this stage of understanding, he sees no distinction between the spiritual and material worlds. It's a very high stage that in perfect vision, the material world becomes the spiritual world due to its being the external energy of the Supreme Lord. For the perfect devotee, the energy and the energetic are not different. Thus, the so called material world becomes spiritual. Sarvam khalva idam brahma. Everything is intended for the service of the Supreme Lord, and the expert devotee can utilize any so called material thing for the Lord's service. Like this computer can be used for Krishna's service. One cannot serve the Lord without being situated on the spiritual. But you don't need the computer. Rupa Goswami time there was no computer, but they were still serving the Lord. So if the material thing is there, we use it. If it's not there, still you can serve the Lord. Thus, if the so-called material thing is dovetailed in the service of the Lord, it is no longer to be considered material. Thus, the pure devotee in his perfect vision sees from all angles. Like Prabhupada gave the example of iron rod in the fire becomes like fire. Okay, so Sankirtan means complete glorification of the Lord also. Sankirtan means to come together and chant the holy name congregationally. Also, it means to use everything that we have, our money, our time, our life, in the glorification of the Lord. So that is also Sankirtan. Okay, so that's how the daughter of King Vidarbha accepted her husband as all in all as the supreme. She gave up all sensual enjoyment and in complete renunciation followed the principles of her husband who was so advanced. So Malayadhwaj was advanced and Vaidarbi, she served her husband who was very advanced. Thus she remained engaged in his service. Figuratively, King Malayadhwaj is the spiritual master and his wife Vaidarbi is the disciple. So, as the Acharya instructs by his own example, so in this case, Malayadhwaj also was guiding by his own example. The disciple accepts the spiritual master as the supreme personality of Godhead, as stated by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his Gurvashtaka. Sakshat Dharitvena, one directly accepts the Guru, the spiritual master, as the supreme personality of Godhead. One should accept the spiritual master not in the sense the Mayavadi philosophers do, but in the way recommended here. So he is the representative, not that he is God himself. Since the spiritual master is the most confidential servant of the Lord, he should be treated exactly like the supreme personality of Godhead. The spiritual master should never be neglected or disobeyed like an ordinary person. That's the what is the which offense is that? Second, third offense. To blaspheme the devotees of dedication. Third offense, to disobey, right? Third offense.
Correct.
If a woman is fortunate enough to be the wife of a pure devotee, she can serve her husband without any desire for sense gratification. If she remains engaged in the service of her exalted husband, she will automatically attain the spiritual perfections of her husband. So, if we engage in the service of those who are very spiritually advanced, then we'll automatically uh, be attain their qualities and will become perfect. If a disciple gets a bona fide spiritual master simply by satisfying him, he can attain a similar opportunity to serve the Supreme Personality of God. Okay, so we say Mahat Seva Dwara Mahul Vimukti. So service to the great souls opens the door to liberation. Prasangam Ajaram Pasham. Okay, so the next verse. Uh, okay, let's read this one. The daughter of King Vidarbha wore old garments, and she was lean and thin because of her vows of austerity. Since she did not arrange her hair, it became entangled and twisted in locks. So then in Vanaprastha, although she remained always near her husband, she was silent and unagitated as the flame of an undisturbed fire. When one begins to burn firewood, there is smoke and agitation in the beginning. Although there are so many disturbances in the beginning, once the fire is completely set, the firewood burns steadily. So in the beginning, the fire takes some. Similarly, when both husband and wife follow the regulative principles of austerity, they remain silent and are not agitated by sex impulses. At such a time, both husband and wife are benefited spiritually. One can attain this stage of life by completely giving up a luxurious mode of life. In this verse, the word chira vas means dress. Chira, no, chira is okay. Chira vash, what is Prabhupada? Chira, wearing old garments. Vas, okay. The wife should especially remain austere, not desiring luxurious dress and living standards. She should only accept the bare necessities of life and minimize her eating and sleeping. There should be no question of mating. Simply by engaging in the service of her exalted husband, who must be a pure devotee, the wife will never be agitated by sex impulses. The Vanprastha stage is exactly like this. Although the wife remains with the husband, she undergoes severe austerities and penances, so that although both husband and wife live together, there is no question of sex. In this way, both husband and wife can live together perpetually. Since the wife is weaker than the husband, the weakness is expressed in this verse with the words upapatim. Upa means near to or almost equal to. Being a man, the husband is generally more advanced than his wife, but not necessarily always that's true. Prabhupada says like this, but that doesn't mean that women are less advanced or anything like that. Mostly, many times, women are more interested in spiritual life, and you know, they are doing good sadhana, and the husband is not doing at all. Nonetheless, the wife is expected to give up all luxurious habits. She should not even dress nicely or comb her hair. Hair combing is one of the main businesses of women. In the Vanaprastha stage, the wife should not take care of her hair. Then, thus, her hair will become tangled in knots. Consequently, the wife will be no longer attractive to the husband, and she herself will no longer be agitated by sex impulses. In this way, both husband and wife can advance in spiritual consciousness. This advanced stage is called the Paramahamsa stage. And once it is obtained, both husband and wife can actually be liberated from bodily consciousness. If the disciple remains steady in the service of spiritual master, he need no longer fear falling down into the clutches of Maya. Like this Ananda Chaitanya Prabhu came, right? He was saying that he spent 10 years in the Bhaktivedanta manor, and then he moved to Hungary to assist his spiritual master in his book publishing. And he said this was the best decision I made, one of the very good decisions I made in life. So he is there in Hungary, he was saying, and he was steadily engaged in the service. So, so like that, if we are, of course, anywhere, it's not physical proximity with the spiritual master, but if we accept the instructions, then we are, serving the spiritual master, because Vani Seva is there. And Prabhupada also met his spiritual master only a few times in his life, but he accepted this is instruction to publish books. He told at Radhakund, if you ever get money, print books. So he wrote a lot of books, Prabhupada, and these books have transformed our lives, right? So, and all the instruction, and Prabhupada said, my spiritual master wanted me to publish. That's why I'm pushing this book distribution. My spiritual master wanted it. And so I'm pushing all of you. So this is parampara. So we are satisfying the desires of the previous acharyas. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wanted all this Krishna consciousness. He sent his book, Lord Chaitanya, what is it, Lives and Precepts, something like that,
Yeah.
in 1896 to McGill University in Canada. So he wanted these books to be read by everybody, like that. So
Yeah, I just have a question. Like, Shivram Maharaj has written so many books as we were seeing the whole set. And I mean, we have Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada's books, so many. And we are told that in this Kali Yuga, I mean, Harinam is the only way. That whatever time we get, we should, chant more. So, how do we, balance our time, because I mean the main thing is Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and that has to be read again and again, not just once you read it and it's done. And
Hmm.
how do you get time to read these so many extra books that Prabhupada's disciples have written?
You read so many books, right? So
No, but I don't have time to even read Giraj Maharaj's books.
yeah, I mean, all books are about Krishna only, Bhagavatam. So whatever it's like, time we get, read. Yeah, I I don't know. Sometimes devotees have some schedule of reading. Like we have the schedule of reading like every day. So you have evening schedule. You are reading so many books right every day. So
Prabhupada's books.
Prabhupada's books, and after that you can take one book, another book also to read like that. So there are so many books to read. So we can read. Ultimately, it's not so much like Of course, we like to read about Krishna Leela. So many books are there. Damodar Jani is so nice. I like that. And so many others. We are reading the Paul pastime. So we get some insight also into the. But Krishna is vast and infinite, right? So,
Yeah, and then there is preaching, there is active service, and
correct.
then chanting the holy name. I mean, we should not be just stuck with just 16 rounds. We should keep increasing.
Hmm. Ideally, I mean, and the thing is that what is that? The essence of all advice is what is that?
No, always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna.
Yeah, but it says in the nectar of instruction, the essence of all instruction. What is that verse?
To all,
Nam Charit.
And 24 hours a day.
How does it?
Nam Charitadi Stape Vidya Pituptapta Rasanasya
No, that is
Maharuchi.
Syad Krishnam. There is another verse. Iti
Tannam.
Updesha Saram. What is that?
Tannam Rupa Charitadi.
Tannama Rupa Charidadi.
Sukirtinam.
So it says the essence of all advice is to what it says. So 24 hours a day, he says, like that. Rupa Goswami. So whether you read, of course, we as Prabhupada, our 16 rounds, so we have to chant because that's the minimum that Prabhupada. So reading is also like chanting only. Reading and it's not.
But Hare Nam, Hare Nam eva kevalam. It says, I mean, he said, Prabhupada said, I have written all these books to make you convinced to chant Hare Krishna. So
Hmm.
does reading equate to chanting? I
Yeah,
think
like
reading is Shravanam and chanting is
no, like Prabhupada says, if
Kirtanam.
you are speaking about Krishna, like we are reading
Yeah,
loudly.
if you're speaking about Krishna, that's Kirtanam. But if you're reading books for yourself, that's Shravanam.
Shravanam. So that is also very important. Remember, ultimately we say to always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. So it says, essence of all advice is that one should utilize one's full time, 24 hours a day, in nicely chanting and remembering the Lord's divine name. So it says about the name, transcendental form, qualities, and eternal pastimes. So remembering also, if you read or you speak, you're remembering, thereby gradually engaging one's tongue and mind. In this way, one should reside in Vraj, Golok Vrindavan Dham, and serve Krishna under the guidance of devotees. One should follow in the footsteps of the Lord's beloved devotees who are deeply attached to his devotional service. So then preaching, right? Sometimes Prabhupada says, read, chant, hear, and preach. That is our life. So read, chant, hear, and
Yeah, and another thing about, I mean, these Raganuga books, I mean, these are not used for preaching.
correct.
They go into depth in one pastime, as we have been reading about Krishna coming back to Vrindavan, or this Pearl story is in so much depth. It's not related to preaching.
I mean, all pastimes may not you be. All pastime you can. I spoke about
Yeah,
it.
it can be, yeah, Pearl pastime can be spoken in 5 minutes.
Hmm.
But this whole book chapter is there, can continue for hours and hours.
But it may be because of our own rasa, like we want to.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, Raganuga devotees, they want to go in depth into the pastime and every little detail. But it's not related to preaching. That bhav is for self advancement, meditation.
But if you remember there is nothing like very esoteric in this. They are just negotiating,
Yeah,
bartering.
yeah, it's not, but it's a big pastime. So somebody can spend, many days
Mhm.
in reading this pastime, many, many days. The whole book is on this, Mukta Charita.
Yeah, so you can tell this pastime if you read.
No,
Uh,
but I mean, it's in so much detail we cannot cover. I mean, it's written in like short form, like a summary form. We can say that.
in a class, maybe it's not possible. Yeah, you can do so. But if you are with some devotees who are also Rasika, they are also liking it, and then you can, I mean, it can go for hours. You can discuss, and you can tell. In the class, in the temple, obviously, it's 1 hour class, so how much you can say, but and new people are there. But if you are
Yeah,
with,
I mean, there should be also be lessons. So it's just everybody is not at that level, so they need to know about daily sadhana practice.
correct,
Raganuga stuff is usually not spoken in public,
correct.
in lectures.
But we also say, right, that when we hear more about Krishna's and his wonderful pastimes, then it gives us some attraction for like the person Krishna, and we want to go back to the spiritual world. So
Yeah, yeah,
how
that's right.
how wonderful things are happening there.
That's right. I mean, we can speak. That's what I'm saying. I mean, the same pastime can be spoken in 5 minutes, which
Mhm.
there is a whole book about, going into detail every single conversation that is happening.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm saying that, I mean, for us, we have to balance between preaching and sadhana. And sadhana, whichever level we are on. I mean, reading books is our own sadhana. And plus we have to take into account that holy name is the only way, which means we need to increase. Like Haridas Thakur was 23 hours just chanting the holy name, and he was getting all the knowledge from the holy name.
Mhm. And he was preaching also, right? We hear
Yeah,
Nityananda Prabhu is going out and approaching Jagai and Madai. And yeah, it's Haridas Thakur is exceptional personality. Yeah,
yeah.
but
For me, if I get free time, I will just start chanting, but I will never, I will, for me to open a book like this, I mean, it's good to read in a group, and that's that. But
then whatever helps, yeah, you can read. So I think Prabhupada's books should be read first. That's what I feel.
and that multiple times, right? Bhagavatam is to be
Yeah.
read multiple
I mean,
times because we forget.
Chaitanya Charitamrita has so much emotional stuff, right? Like so much, so many pastimes and so many things, advanced Nitya Leela and so many. So yeah, we can read Prabhupada's books first. That's the thing. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it is all about our internal realization and purity of consciousness, right? That's what matters
Mhm.
the most. Whatever you do, whether you read, chant here, ultimately,
Mhm.
what's the realization we are getting, and that's the.
First, our anarthas have to be, so we have to pass the anarth nivritti stage. Then comes the ruchi, asakti, bhav, prem, all the ragma stage.
Yeah, I think the morning program should be the first thing priority because Prabhupada wanted that everybody, you know, do the morning program. In part of that is the Bhagavatam. So if we can do the morning program at home or like um, that's kind of foundation of devotional service. So in every temple, if you live, then you can't say, "Oh, I am living in the temple, but I will not follow the morning program." So as much as possible outside, we can know we have our job and our family and everything. So it's nice to do the morning program and meditate on the prayers that we chant. Like so, okay. Of course, everybody will have their own situation in life and whatever, you know. And it is also about our own where we are at, and like if somebody has children, then at night they are awake, then how can you like get up in the morning and all these things are so many things are in job also situation. Somebody has to work at night, so if you have a job like that, and you're on call and things, so many things. So it can become difficult. But whatever you can do, according to our situation, whatever we can do, we do. So, and try to do better from where we are at, right? Wherever we are at, they say sometimes you can't compare with the very great advanced devotees because you are in first grade, they are in 12th grade. So first I have to go from first grade to second grade to third grade. Then I cannot directly jump to the 12th grade. So in the same way, we have to see where we are at, where our consciousness is at, and how I can become purified. Of course, how much fast also all this ultimately every person has to judge for themselves. It's a thing like that. And then everybody has their past life also. So some people are already starting off at a very high level of detachment and renunciation. So so we can't compare with because they have the consciousness has come like that from their previous lives. So they are very automatically very renounced like that, right? So,
Yes.
so whatever we can do, we do. Okay, so the daughter of King Vidarbha continued as usual to serve her husband, who was seated in a steady posture until she could ascertain that he had passed away from the body. So she was serving him, and then he was sitting, and then she realized, oh, he has passed away. It appears that the queen did not even talk to her husband while serving. She would simply perform her prescribed duties without talk. Thus, she did not stop rendering service. So, devotional service can be done very silently to the Lord, like until she could ascertain that her husband had passed away, passed from the body. While she was serving her husband by massaging his legs, she could feel that his feet were no longer warm and could thus understand that he had already passed from the body. So feet became cold, I think. It was not warm. She felt great anxiety upon being left alone. Bereft of her husband's company, she felt exactly as the deer feels upon being separated from its mate. As soon as the circulation of blood and air within the body stops, it is to be understood that the soul within the body has left. The stoppage of the blood circulation is perceived when the hands and feet lose heat. One tests whether a body is alive or not by feeling the heart's palpitations and the coldness of feet and hands. Yeah, it's very difficult to see. It's like the body is alive, and then as soon as the soul leaves, the body becomes lifeless.
So, this is a very good death because he was in his meditation. Um,
Ah,
um,
yeah,
his, yeah, remembering Krishna. And same thing happened with Yamuna Devi, right? She had the beads in her hand and she was sitting on the chair, and in the morning she was still sitting and she had left with
correct.
the beads in her hand.
Yeah, yeah. So to remember Krishna is very important. Like, so we can remember at him at the last moment also. Etavan Sankhya Yogapyam Swadharma Parinishthaya Janmalabha Parapumsam Ante Narayana Smriti. So, and they say bhajan karo, sadhan karo, bhajan karo, sadhan
Mate jalo hoy.
karo, janle hoy. So, if we really are doing it seriously, then the time of death will be known, everything will be. So, of course, we don't have to show to anybody. It's not, I mean, this life is just so temporary. Even if we get name and fame and everything, then once we leave the body, it's not about, it's about our internal relationship with Krishna. It's not about whether somebody says you he's a great devotee or not, or and we may be mistaken also in, or somebody may be mistaken. So we know, sometimes Prabhupada says, you know where you are at spiritual advancement, right? You know in your heart how much you are free from the anarthas, how much you are free from material desires, how much. So it's not like you need to know, somebody has to tell you from outside, or okay, he's very spiritually advanced, or how much we are attached to, how much taste we are deriving in Krishna's service. We know in our heart. So if we introspect, we'll know. So
Mhm. But that whatever is inside does reflect outside. I mean, the external and internal are same for the devotee. So, I mean, for those who are going back home, back to Godhead, I guess the people around them, they already know that this person is so sincere. He has all the good qualities of a devotee. Nam Gane Sada Ruchi is always chanting the holy name, preaching. So they say, "Oh, you're definitely going back home, back to Godhead." I mean, that indication is there.
correct. And there are other devotees in Vrindavan who may not be known to anybody, right? They are very silent bhaktas. They don't have
Mm.
any name, but they are also going back home. Back to, like Radhanath Swami talks about one, that
Mm.
was it Ghanshyam? Was it Ghanshyam?
Mm. Yeah, Ghanshyam.
Ghanshyam.
Mm.
Until he told nobody, I mean, if Radha Maharaj didn't meet him and he didn't write about him, nobody would know that there was a
Mm.
devotee like this Ghanshyam.
Yeah.
And there are so many others who we may not know, and
Mm.
they may be going back home back to
The
God.
Bhajananandi devotees, right? They do their bhajan in secret.
Correct. And so they are not after popularity or anything like that. They just, and somebody who is, Prabhupada was also not after popular. He wanted to make Krishna, yeah, famous.
Yeah, like Gaur Kishore Das Babaji and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Both are pure devotees. I mean, one is Bhajananandi, there is Goshti Anandi. But we're not, they were not doing it for popularity, but just to uh, fulfill the orders of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that you should go out and preach.
And whether somebody says or not, if you have eaten a nice meal, you know you are full. Right? So basically, that's also another way.
Yeah,
That's
that's right. But I mean, the others will see your good qualities. I mean, it's not that, oh, I'm an advanced devotee, but I behave badly with others, right? So, like, if you love Krishna, you will love everyone, and if you love everyone, they will love you.
yeah,
So, automatically, if,
yeah, yeah. Deal.
yeah, like, whatever is our advancement, it should show externally.
Hmm. But yeah, but oh, yes, that is true. It what is internal, but the thing is, sometimes it can be like an external action to show that we are spiritually advanced, whereas
Mm.
internally there is a disconnect between.
Yeah,
So
correct. So, you fake it till you make it, but don't fake it too much that you think that you have made it.
correct.
Uh, Right. So internally, you should know where you are at, but your internal advancement should show in your external qualities that manifest and dealings with others.
Because there can be like an ulterior motive in doing. I mean, name and fame can be a motive also for
Mm.
doing devotional service. So that is also we have to examine that. Like they say,
Mm.
like.
There should be no hypocrisy.
Hmm.
Like you speak whatever you think and you do whatever you speak. That's what Naveen Krishna Prabhu was saying in his class. Means your body, mind, and words are in alignment.
And even if you speak about pure devotional service, you may, if you're not a pure devotee, you can say that, I'm trying to follow, I'm doing this, it's not like I'm surrendered to Krishna. If I say, oh, everybody should surrender to Krishna, but I'm also only myself only not surrendered to Krishna, and then I say like that. So then, but I can
Yeah.
say that I am trying to surrender to Krishna, and
Yeah, I'm trying to be a devotee.
and that's
And
also
a
there.
devotee would always feel like that. Premera Subhavya, Premera Saman, Sai Mane Krishna More Nahi Premagand. He thinks that everybody has love for Krishna. I don't have love for Krishna. See, everybody is more advanced than me. They are all going back home, back to God, and only I am so disqualified. I cannot go unless I work on myself. That's their humility.
Yeah, and then you have to seek your association based on who you think is like, inspiring, and like that. Everybody has to find their association, because they're in society of devotees, we respect everybody, we give respect, but then you have to find your association where you feel like this is really helping me come
Correct.
closer.
Sajatya snigdasya
Yeah.
nashraya.
So you have your everybody is devotee. That verse is there, right? One should mentally honor that person who is chanting the holy name of Krishna, like that. So anyway, so that is the respect is always there for everybody, and but you have to take guidance or take association with whom you feel that there is inspiration, and like that. Because yeah, so that is how basically you select uh, somebody as your guru, because you feel like, okay, this person is going to um, is inspiring me by whatever. So by his lectures, by his acharan, his sadhana, whatever, sadachar, and like that. So I feel inspired by this, and then you say, okay, this person I will take initiation from or whatever. Okay, so and when faults in others misguide you, delude you, then what you should do?
Introspect. Have patience, introspect, and find faults in yourself. Know that nobody else can harm you more than you can harm yourself.
So if you see that, okay, this person has this fault, okay, then look inside and see, oh, you have faults also. So you're not unless Srila Prabhupada, like, I mean, he's guru, so he's chastising his disciples like that. So unless you are in like authority position to correct, that's okay. And if that other person also should accept you as an authority, it's not like, you impose your authority on somebody. You have to, other person also should feel that, and it comes from the heart, right? You cannot impose your authority. Of course, in management, suppose somebody is doing something wrong in the temple, then we have to tell, and there has to be some. But generally speaking, I can say that I'm your authority, but you should also feel that you are my authority. Then only there'll be. Otherwise, if I impose on you and saying that I'm your authority, and you should do like this, you should do like this, and you don't accept me as an authority, then you will think, who is it to tell me what I should do? He has already this faults. Who is he to tell me what I should do? So then it becomes like, you know, so because everybody, we all have our false ego in this age. So that is why there is age. Why quarrel starts? Quarrel starts because of false ego. Because I am right and you are thinking you are right, so everybody thinks they are right. So then that's why there is quarrel and fighting. It's because of false ego, and everybody's false ego is at a high in this age of Kali. We are all having big false ego. So I'm not saying about all of you, but I'm saying in general like that. Being now alone and a widow in that forest, the daughter of Vidarbha began to lament, incessantly shedding tears, which soaked her breasts and crying very loudly. So she came to realize, oh, her husband has left. So she began crying and like that. So, because for her, he was guiding her and she was serving him, and like it was kind of like for her, he was like her spiritual master. Figuratively, the queen is supposed to be the disciple of the king. Thus, when the mortal body of the spiritual master expires, his disciple should cry exactly as the queen cries when the king leaves his body. Like, which crying song is there from separation from devotees?
Jaya Nilo Prema Dhanu. Karuna Raju.
Yeah. Pashane kutibo matha, anale pashibo. I'll bang my head against the rock and I'll enter into the fire. Where is the great dancer, Lord Gauranga, gone? Where is Srinivas Acharya like that? कहाँ मोरा भट्ट युग कहाँ कबीरा एक काले को था दिला मोरा नटराज. Yeah, what do you say?
No, no, I'm just singing.
Yeah. What is some? You can sing some of the lines.
Se saba sangira sangi je koilo bilasa se sangana paiya kande narotamadasa जियानिलो प्रेमाधन करुणा प्रचुर हेनो प्रभु कोठा गेला आचार्य ठाकुर. Narodam Das Thakur was not in the same time as these
Yeah,
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Raghunath Bhatt or Krishna Das Kaviraj, right?
correct. But he maybe in spiritual thing you can feel still separation, right? Like we can say devotees feel separation from Krishna. Like Rupa Goswami was also not there, but he was feeling separation from. So maybe they are feeling separation in there. Yeah, but of course this is about physical separation, right? We sing this when somebody departs. So yeah, but Narottam Das Thakur, yeah, he was not there. Lord Chaitanya. Yeah. Anyway, so it has to also come from within the heart. You cannot cry artificially. It has to come really, you feel like, okay, I lost the company. Normally, it happens when you lose your near and dear ones. Like if you lose your child or your somebody who you like, you lose them, then you feel
Mm.
so.
In the Ramananda Rai Samvad, Ramananda Rai is asking, oh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is asking what kind of distress is the most painful. So he says, apart from separation from devotees of Krishna, I know of no unbearable unhappiness. Most painful.
Yeah, because you feel so secure and so happy and so like protected and secure, like in the protection of devotees and things like that. So it's suddenly like that protection is gone. So that's what they lament. That who will be there to now, guide me. And so then, of course, we say if Vapu is not there, then Vani is there. Vani will guide like that. But yeah, that physical presence is very much missed. And also when somebody serves you and somebody really loves you, like your mother, right? It's mother really loves you, and if your mother departs, right, then you feel that yeah, there was a person who loved me so dearly, right? So you feel like that, who was caring for me, who was so. Then also you feel so. In the same way, spiritual master also, or devotees like that. When there is care and affection, then you feel like that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, even for material relationships, we can connect it to Krishna. Like Krishna placed that person in our life and gave us love uh, to us through that person, because ultimately it was Krishna, right, who arranges for somebody to care for us in our life.
Yeah,
So in that way, we are remembering ultimately Krishna only. Like Krishna, you place this devotee in my life.
correct. And we also give credit to the person, also the devotee who, like, we give credit to the, like we say, it's because of Srila Prabhupada, right? Because that we are, of course, Krishna only uh, gave us Srila Prabhupada, like that. But we also praise the person. for their contribution in our life. So we praise all the acharyas also.
Yeah, because those are pure devotees. If we remember them, then also we are going back home, back to Godhead. However, if somebody is not a devotee but still they care and love us, we should connect that to Krishna. And because if we think of that person like this Vidarbhi, and we will, I mean, will be again attached to that person, may also come back again in the material world.
Correct.
If they are not a devotee, if they are a devotee and especially a pure devotee, then definitely, I mean, if we think of them at the time of death also, then we go back home, back to Godhead.
Yeah, that attachment may not be related to sense gratification like mother's love for the child, right? That just an appreciation of
Yeah, correct.
the sacrifice that that person has done for that, how much they sacrifice, because of which we are like educated and we are like in this position, how much they took care of us when we were helpless. And so we are grateful for whatever anybody does. Like if I'm in an accident and somebody saves, somebody comes in, that person may not be devotee, but we still remain grateful. Yeah, you helped me. So of course it is through Krishna only that help came. That person was there at that point, but then we give them some reward or something like that. We want to do something for them because they helped us, like that. So in that way, there is loving exchange between devotees, and so Prabhupada would gift like a rose, and devotees would some give some gift to Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada would accept it, and then he would give them something like a very insignificant, maybe a rose, like that, and they would feel so happy, like that. So that like bonds the devotees together. Okay, so and then when they come together, then they chant Hare Krishna and they talk about Krishna. They plan how to serve Krishna together. However, the disciple, will just finish this purport. However, the disciple and spiritual master are never separated because the spiritual master always keeps company with the disciple. When Prabhupada came to Mayapur, then some people were saying that, oh, he didn't stop at the Samadhi of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his spiritual master. When he came, somebody was saying like that. And Prabhupada says, do they ever think that I was separated from my spiritual master? Because he was always like meditating on the instructions and things like that. So, uh, as long as the disciple follows strictly the instructions of the spiritual master, this is called association of Vani, words. Physical presence is called Vapu. Like Bhakti Charu Maharaj also told this little memory he had. He said he was serving Prabhupada in the last days of his life, and he was doing personal service to Prabhupada. And one time he saw at night time there was some window opposite to where he was serving or something, and everybody was peeping into the room to get a glimpse of Prabhupada. And he was thinking that, you know, how many devotees want to be with Srila Prabhupada now in this time. How many devotees want to serve Srila Prabhupada? So he told Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, now so many devotees want to serve you, and but when you came to New York, you were alone. You know, Prabhupada says I was loitering in the street, and so Bhakti Charu Maharaj said, I wish I was there with you at that time to help you, to serve you. And then Prabhupada says, I was never alone. I was always with my, I think he said Krishna was always there with me, or my spiritual master's presence was always with me. So he said like that. So this is called the association of Vani. Physical presence is called Vapu. As long as the spiritual master is physically present, the disciple should serve the physical body of the spiritual master. And when the spiritual master is no longer physically existing, the disciple should serve the instructions of the spiritual master. Okay, so by following the instructions, so it's 8:55. We can stop here today. Is that okay? Yeah.
That's true.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank
Thank you, Prabhuji.
you.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare
That
Krishna,
was
Prabhuji.
pronounced.